All right, Mike Watkins, Hurricane Track and HurricaneAnalytics.com, doing a quick update. This is going to be a quick one for Dorian. Winds have come down a little bit more today, but still remains a powerful Category 4 hurricane. It's forecast to be that way for another couple of days, and then after that, it should ramp down to at least Category 3. In fact, some of the computer models and most of the intensity models is showing that once that Dorian fully connects with the westerly flow and kind of starts to lift out of Grand Bahama here, it will start to weaken as the shear around the storm increases. So a couple of things just to note with good Dorian. The eye continues to kind of struggle. It did finish an eye wall replacement cycle earlier today, but the convective pattern around it's getting a little bit ragged. The other thing that looks like it's happening is it hasn't been moved. In fact, it hasn't moved in hours. The official position was stationary at 5 p.m. It looks a little like it's starting to lift out, even maybe a little bit this way, but I think that's probably a wobble, and it's very possible that we've got a situation. And again, this is not by report of the aircraft or whatever, but sometimes what we see is the kind of wider envelope when these stalled storms, and then what happens is the center will rotate around inside, kind of like, I think I mentioned it earlier today on Twitter, like rolling around a marble inside of a fishbowl. So if the fishbowl is spinning and the marble's inside it spinning, it'll flip around inside the bigger circulation, especially when there's very little motion. We've seen that with intense Atlantic hurricanes before, so that's not news. The other thing is the outflow is a little restricted here on the northern side. If you notice, it's kind of pushed back a little bit, either due to upwelling or just the fact that they're starting to get some westerlies up here, and you see where there's some shear, which is good news also in terms of weakening. But without a doubt, this is still going to be a major hurricane as it makes its way up the Florida East Coast over the next couple of days. So radius of tropical storm force winds of I'm going to get into that in a second, but there's a lot of convective activity that's fired today along the bands. Most of that is probably as a result of daytime heating. You see a big fire up in convective activity over the last several hours. So daytime heating combined with the fact that the band's are already there, you get some surface convergence and boom, lift is provided, and you've got that. So that's really just going to continue. We're going to continue to see bands spin off of Dorian. The wind radius has expanded a little bit also with Dorian, and now according to the latest information from the National Hurricane Center at 2 p.m., we were experiencing in this radial, it's possible that there was sustained tropical storm force winds. If we move that up to 12 hours, so we're talking about 2 a.m. tonight, now we've got an envelope from essentially Fort Lauderdale all the way north here of tropical storm force winds, and then as we move on into the 2 p.m. tomorrow and 2 a.m. tomorrow night, more and more of Florida gets involved, and now we see a little bit more of a chance of 50-knot winds or 60-mile-per-hour winds, 55-mile-per-hour winds making contact with somewhere in that range, 50 to 60, with the Florida East Coast. Then from there, the storm starts to move up and just showing a little bit further away from the coast than it was on the last advisory. But again, not significant. Any shift in the track could still bring the center in somewhere in Florida or later on down the road. So we'll just continue to watch that as well. And then again, this is pretty much the view of what we've got from Dorian. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it. It's weakening a little bit. It's interacting with land. It looks like it might be trying to move, but I'm not 100% sure. That's not just a wobble. We'll find out in the next several hours. Mike Watkins, HurricaneTrack.com and HurricaneAnalytics.com.